All right. Good afternoon, everybody. Chip, thank you for having FranNet on here and having myself and working with your candidates here in the Boise area. Chip, you want to kind of lead us off real quick?
Yeah, absolutely. And thanks, Blair. Yeah, actually, you may have people from as far as the Midwest to the West Coast, down
Okay.
south. Yeah, it's based here in Boise. But today, Blair, you could have people across the country. And so welcome, everybody. Glad that you're here. Blair has been just a great partner to LHH. Please know that there are no monetary transactions between us and Blair. It is just simply an arm's length transaction and relationship between you and Blair. And what I've always appreciated about Blair is all the great feedback. He follows up, he takes care of clients. It is very important that he match people so that they can be successful and make sure that it's right. And so I'm just glad you're here today. You're going to learn a lot. It's going to stretch your mind. Please challenge Blair back. Another thing I appreciate about Blair is that he stays current. We were just talking about the NASDAQ off 5%. And oh my gosh, what's going on with the stock market? And Blair and FranNet have always adjusted to market conditions, certainly coming out of COVID. Now we're looking at interesting times with inflation. And I'm sure Blair has great perspective on all of these things. I'm going to drop off. You guys know where I am. I will put my phone number into the chat in case y'all need anything. Otherwise, let me get out of the way. You're in great hands with Blair. And thanks, Blair, for your time today.
You got it. A couple other housekeeping things. Again, thanks, Chip. Appreciate all your help and guidance. I'll be watching the chat along the way. If it takes me a minute, know that it's just me on this webinar, guiding this webinar, but I'll do my best to watch the Q&A, raise of hands, or the chat room. So this webinar is all about you guys, is to help you learn more about a career transition and a possible choice of going into business and franchise ownership, which is we're going to spend the next kind of 45 minutes on. We are recording this session and we'll give you the chance to ask for the recording here at the end. The one thing you will want to have handy to be able to get a copy of today's presentation, the actual recording, the slides, as well as the handouts that we would normally do if this was in person, is have your phone ready. There will be a QR code at the end that you'll be able to snap a picture of, and you'll be able to get a copy of everything. So without further ado, let me share my screen. We'll be off and running here. And, oops. All right, here we go. Okay. So a little bit about myself before I kind of keep diving into the guts of this is know that I've been in business and franchise ownership for, gosh, going on 30 years. I've been with a company called FranNet. FranNet specializes in helping people go into franchise ownership, which is the methodology that most of our clients choose, because most of our clients have never been in business before. They're familiar with franchising. They kind of want that playbook to follow. So therefore their chance of success being much greater. So like I said, most of our clients choose franchising as their business methodology, but obviously not all. Some go into independent businesses, consulting, and we'll talk about all that. But I'm the vice chairman of the board of our parent company. We have offices throughout North America. We've been around for about 35 years. Like I said, I've been with FranNet for over 25 years. Started off in Southern California many years ago. Believe it or not, there is gray hair on my head. And started with a company that you probably heard of called the UPS store. It used to be called Mailboxes, etc. way back when. And that's when my father and my brother and I got involved back in 1987 with Mailbox, etc. as the master franchisees down in Southern California. As some of you may have heard, Chip and I chatting, own several other businesses. Most recent one, my wife and I just started another franchise called Stretch Lab. So we are multiple franchisees and multiple concepts, as well as multiple businesses. So been around the business and franchise ownership block many times, and have literally helped hundreds of people just like yourselves go from a very basic educational webinar such as this to, hey, if all goes well and this is something you really want to strive towards, you can be in business, or at least know the business that you're going to do within about 2 months time of this webinar. And we'll talk about how to do that. So we're going to talk about Why do people go into business ownership? Why do people not go into business ownership? What are the different options for going into business, the risks and rewards? Then we'll kind of get into franchising specifically, because like I said, most of our clients want to go into franchising just due to safety and kind of, like I said, kind of having that playbook to follow. And then we'll talk about, this, what is your personal business model? And like I said, that's when you want to have your camera ready to get the QR code at the end. So, like I said, basically what FranNet does is we help match people with the right businesses and franchises based on who you are, who your goals are, what it is that you're trying to achieve, your personality, budget, the area that you live in, or at least you want to own the business within. And we work with several hundred different companies. We pre-screen all the companies that we work with. So like Chip said in the beginning, we kind of watch what's happening within the economy. The conversation that we've had on this webinar a year and a half, 2 years ago is totally different than what we are talking about today due to inflation and change in the market. I was literally looking at this presentation. It's probably time for me to change it again because we're seeing another change in the economy. And so therefore we're going to see a change in what we see our clients start to gravitate towards. But I'll definitely cover a lot of the trends of what we're seeing happen. But do know that we pre-screen all these companies. But we also, like I said, the main thing that we do is we help match you up with the right franchise and businesses, and then coach you through the whole research process so that you can make a safe and wise decision. We are not paid by you. We are not paid by Lee Hecht Harrison. We are paid by the companies that we work with. So think of us as kind of like a executive recruiter for them, if you will. So therefore, we don't sell the franchises. We're just kind of be your helpful consultant guide to help you get this done if this is a career choice that you're seriously considering. This is a slide that I like to get out of the way kind of right away, because usually one of the biggest questions people have is financing. We're not the financing experts. There are several companies that ourselves and our clients work with to kind of get their questions answered about financing and kind of seeing which methodology of financing is the best way to go for you. And everybody on this webinar is going to have different needs, different wants, and probably different ways of financing is going to be best for you. These are the three companies within the industries that are the leaders in helping people get the financing that they need to purchase their business. So feel free to jot down their names. We can help you get in contact with them, as well as other professionals within industry, whether it be CPAs, attorneys that you may need. That's really later on in this process. But like I said, as far as the lending environment, which is ever changing right now based on the economy, there are still very good, very cheap, easy sources of financing out there that you've probably never even thought of. So just know that there's lots of options out there. Kind of last miscellaneous slide before we kind of get into the guts of this is we kind of have a bill of rights for our clients, meaning that nobody's forcing you to do this. This is an option that you have. It's an option a lot of people that would like to do, but a lot of people don't do it because there are risks involved as far as going into business. That's kind of the unfortunate part about going into business. But we do have a kind of a bill of rights that we give to all of our clients, and that really your needs and wants come first, because this is all about you. So one of the questions that we usually ask in a live session is, hey, if you knew you could be successful in business ownership, what would your life be like? And when we start to hear as to why people go into business ownership, these are the answers that you see on the screen here in ranking order as to what we hear from our clients as to why they are considering business ownership as compared to going back into a corporate job. So whether it be success, fulfillment, flexibility, financial security, no more layoffs, what we're hearing right now from our clients is the concern of a future layoff, or they're already in a current layoff, just due to what's happening with the economy. The company's running out of PPP funds. We're starting to see this decline in the financial markets. And so companies are starting to prepare for it. And so people are saying, hey, you know what, now is just kind of that window of opportunity of time that I've always had this goal of wanting to own a business, and now might be the right time to do it. Yet most people choose to work for somebody else. And the question is why? Why does that happen? And that by far and away, the number one reason why people choose to go back into a job is they might feel that a job is safer than going into business. So what we're really talking about is risk. okay? Or they might wait until the economy is better. What you'll hear from most business owners is they will say, hey, I wish I started my business in a down economy or an economy that's going down, just like what we're seeing right now or what we experienced during the COVID pandemic. And the reason why that is generally money can be more easily accessible. You're learning the business while the economy is kind of down. Or sometimes our clients will look at businesses that tend to excel in down economies if they have a fear of that might be coming over the next few years. They feel that, hey, they might not have the right money or skill sets or knowledge to start a business, but by far and away, the number one reason that stops people from going in business is risk. And so kind of my whole goal for you today is to kind of show you how to close this window of risk as much as possible so that you can make a safe and wise decision. And I'll kind of show you the methodologies that we have our clients do, kind of a proven research process so that you can make a safe and wise decision. All right, so is working for somebody else safe? So yes, it is. So as you see right here, kind of that time and risk horizon, in the beginning, yeah, if you land a job today, you're probably going to have a paycheck in the next week or two. But typically as time goes on, the risk of the job goes up. So you kind of that security of the job just won't be there. And typically the average job is lasting about 2 to 3 years, 2 to 4 years. Whereas when you look at business ownership, the greatest risk is in the beginning. So it's the exact opposite of a job. But the longer you own the business, typically the risk goes down. Now, usually there's some type of time frame. If I can grab kind of a, where's my laser pointer here. There's usually like a line right around here as to where suddenly the business is profitable, it's achieving all your goals and everything you want in the business. And the question is, where is this line? Okay. How long does it take to get there? How much money does it take to get there? And is that palatable to you based on the investment that you're making? And how do you know all of this prior to signing any documents, signing any agreements, doing any type of funding, writing a check, anything like that? And like I said, we'll show you how to do that here. Let me turn off my laser. All right. So the rules are changing literally as we speak, as we're going into this. So what about the economy? How can it impact your business? How can you lower the risk of businesses with specific market characteristics? Well, you can look at what we call essential businesses. So there's a lot of businesses out there that tend to thrive in all different types of market conditions. If you think of something as like senior care, hey, look, elderly adults have to be taken care of. We have to take care of our parents. We have to take care of our grandparents. They need help no matter what. Pet businesses, people are pouring more money into pets these days than we've ever seen before. Beauty, fitness, sign businesses, damage restoration, staffing, digital marketing or consulting or business coaching. These are all businesses that we've seen go in the decades prior to this do well no matter what happens. And so all I want you to know is it's not that any of these particular types of business are a right fit for you. All I want you to know is there are businesses that tend to be more recession resistant than other if one of your concerns is a recession. So kind of switching gears here. What are your different ways of going into business? What are your different options? Well, you can start a business from scratch. You can buy an existing business, or you can buy a franchise. Those are basically the 3 different business methodologies. So let's look at the pros and cons of each business methodology. So starting a business from scratch. It is the way every single business on this planet started, whether it be Google or FranNet or Lehigh Harrison or Starbucks. Somebody had an idea and created a business out of it. So you have total control, all the decisions. There can be tremendous upside. You can build the business from a passion, tremendous room for creativity. And my hat is off to those people who start a business from scratch, because it is very, very hard to do. But if it works well, it can work really, really well. The disadvantages to starting a business from scratch, and the reason why most people don't do it, is that you have to create everything. Everything from what's the brand name to what's the colors of the logo, what's the software you're going to use, how do you acquire your customers, who are your customers, There's limited financial options to starting a business from scratch, and usually a very slow ramp up time and long ramp up time. So therefore a very high failure rate in starting a business from scratch. But like I said, it's the way every single business on this planet starts. Then you can buy an existing business. So that's option number 2. Buying an existing business is probably the safest way of going into business because it's a tangible asset. You can see the business, you can look at its cash flow, its actual financial results, its customer base, its employees, the systems are there. The owner might be able to do some self-financing. And so there's a tremendous amount of advantages to purchasing an existing business. The con to buying an existing business is that they're hard to find. Write this down if you're interested in existing businesses. The number one website to look at for existing businesses is bizbuysell.com. So that's bizbuysell.com. So if you go to bizbuysell.com, it's the way most businesses are listed online that are for resale. You can sort it by criteria, geography, you name it. The disadvantages of looking at existing businesses is that what should that business actually be priced at? So it usually has to be financially evaluated and appraised. Are you going to get the proper training and support from the current owner? As soon as you buy, is the current owner just going to take off because they really have nothing to do with the business anymore? Why is the seller really selling? If it's that good of a business, should they hold on to it? Or if it's in a declining state, can you turn it around? Are the employees going to stay around? What's the true cash flow of the business? So those are the hard disadvantages to buying an existing business that is for sale. The third option is buying a franchise. Well, the advantages of buying a franchise is that, like I said, there's a playbook to follow. There's sudden name recognition. It's a proven business system. You're going to get a tremendous amount of training and support, and might be lower cost. There's a whole disclosure process in franchising, because franchising is regulated by the Federal Trade Commission. And so the Federal Trade Commission wants you to know as the purchaser exactly what it is that you're getting. You'll see the last item on there, franchise family. To me, that's the most important part of franchising, is not only do you get the support of the franchisor, which is the parent company, but you also get the support from your fellow franchisees that are within that franchise with you. And there's a tremendous amount of camaraderie, helping each other, asking questions, getting answers, because everybody wants to see everybody succeed. So it's kind of a team play to help everybody succeed. The con with franchising is that since it is a team, since there is a franchisor, though, the franchisor wants to make money too. So the franchisor, kind of the big con within franchising, is that there is a royalty payment in addition to an initial franchise fee. So a typical royalty that's paid to a franchisor on a monthly basis is usually around 5 to 7% of gross sales, not on net income, gross sales that goes to the franchisor, excuse me, on a monthly basis. Usually there's a structured operating system, which is good and bad. It's just that structured operating system has been proven. It's been changed and modified to make it better. And so you just need to be willing to follow that structured operating system. If you're the type of person that's more of like an entrepreneur, likes changing things, doing things differently, franchising may not be right for you. Obviously, not every business is franchisable. I've seen some pretty crazy stuff be franchising. In fact, there was one that we just launched yesterday that is in mental health. When you think of mental health, it's something that a lot of people here in the United States have been going through over the past couple of years. The franchise is just absolutely exploding. I'm just learning about it, but who would know that there's franchising in mental health? So like I said, there's not every industry is franchisable, but there's some pretty interesting ones out there. And a lot of people ask, hey, Blair, how many franchises does FranNet work with? Any given point in time, we're usually working with about 250 to 300 different franchises in any given point in time. So basically what a franchise is like I said, it's a business in a box. And it's a business in a box because you're given the license, you're given the trade names, you're given the products, you're given the system how to run the business, along with the support of the franchisor and the other franchisees, in exchange for an initial franchise fee and ongoing royalties. So the way, kind of the analogy that I put to it is, think of yourself joining a gym or a country club, you're probably going to pay some type of initiation fee to join a gym or a country club. And then you're going to have ongoing monthly dues to that gym or country club. So the initial franchise fee, that's kind of the initiation fee. The ongoing royalties, that's kind of those monthly dues that are paid. And like I said, it's usually a percentage of sales. As I mentioned earlier, franchising is regulated by the Federal Trade Commission. So the Federal Trade Commission mandates that if you're looking at a franchise, every franchisor must provide to you what's called an FDD. It stands for Franchise Disclosure Document. It'll tell you everything from what your rights are, what their rights are. It'll tell you whether you get a protected territory or not, or how big the territory is. I'm going to get to this highlighted section here in a minute because it's very, very important. Most franchisors will provide to you what's called a financial representation or an earnings claim, which is where the franchisor will tell you right up front in their disclosure document how well their franchisees do financially. Well, it's usually one of the biggest questions that you have. And so they want to tell you right up front what it actually is. They have to give you financial statements, audited financial statements on the parent company, the management policy, how long does the agreement last, how do you terminate it, how do you sell it, what have you. But let me kind of get back to this list of current franchisees. So this part right here, the reason why this is so important is if you do your research correctly, once you start to lock in on a particular franchise or two that you're pretty interested in, you're going to spend most of your time talking to the existing franchisees. Okay. And a lot of people don't know that you can do this, but it is a way of getting a lot of unbiased research done from people that have gone into this business to see what it's actually like, how much money you can make. Would they do it again? How would they do it differently? How's the training? How's the support? Margins, you name it. Any question that you have about the particular franchise from a owner's perspective, the franchisees will be able to answer for you. And so they will give you a list of every single one of their franchisees, broken down by state, as well as their names, addresses, and phone numbers. All the franchisees that have sold over the past few years, as well as any franchisees that didn't make it, had to close their doors. They also have to disclose those to you. So we coach our clients through this process because you got to remember, as you're talking to the franchisor, you're probably going to hear a lot of information that you want to hear. The franchisees will tell you what it's actually like. And so we provide you the support, the questions to ask not only the franchisors, but also the franchisees so that you can do a lot of this research. So like I said, you're going to talk to current and past franchisees. They'll let you know the success and failure rate and what it's actually like to run that business, which you can't do if you're looking at an independent business or starting a business from scratch. You can't do that type of research. So again, that's kind of one of the main reasons why most of our clients will choose to go the franchising route is you can do a tremendous amount of research. And what's really cool about doing the research is that you can get all this information, all your questions answered, everything that you want to be able to make a good, safe, wise decision, but you still haven't written any checks. You haven't signed any agreements. You haven't done anything. You just done research. So it's a pretty cool research process. One of the biggest trends that we're seeing happening in our clients right now is what we call semi-absentee, okay? A lot of our clients either are thinking about retirement, but don't want to totally retire. A lot of our clients have a job or are going to get a job, but want kind of a side gig. And so they look at semi-absentee business or franchise ownership. So the semi-absentee option, I would say probably somewhere between 50 to 70% of our clients go this route. It is a way of having the best of both worlds, really. These businesses usually require somewhere between 5 to 15 hours a week of oversight. There's a manager who runs the day-to-day of operations for you. And as you get into multiple locations, multiple territories, you'll have those managers who report to an area manager who reports to you as the owner. So I mentioned earlier that, I own several different companies and there's management people that run those businesses for me and they just report to me. What's really cool about these semi-absentee businesses or just business in general as a business owner is that really you can manage them from a phone or an iPad or a laptop from anywhere in the world. You can see real-time stats, real-time income, expenses, how sales are going for that day, management reports, you name it. And so a lot of our clients go this route for supplemental income or income security if they have a fear of a layoff or something like that, trying to create multi-generational wealth because they built an asset and they can pass this asset, this business down to children or family. Or they might be full-time employed or just want to diversify their income or their investment portfolio and create a safety net, and not be at the whims or the whims of, what we're seeing happening in the financial markets right now. So semi-absentee category is one of the hottest categories that we're seeing. So they tend to be, but not always, this is changing, they tend to be more storefront types of businesses. So therefore slightly higher investments because they have a location associated with them. They tend to have a manager running the day-to-day operations, and customers are driven into those locations via advertising dollars. You'll see them all kinds of different segments, whether it be building, home improvement, wellness, fitness, beauty, hair, you name it. There's all kinds of different segments and categories. The reason why people purchase these businesses is not for what the business does, but it's a vehicle to get them to where they want to be. Okay. And that's the main reason. Trust me, nobody woke up this morning and said, my God, if my day goes right, I'm going to own a hair care franchise or a hair care business. I want to cut hair all day. It just doesn't happen. But there are other reasons as to why thousands of people have purchased those types of businesses. And they've never touched a head of hair and they don't want to cut a head of hair or do anything, but they bought it for other reasons. So semi-absentee, if somebody said, hey, Blair, what's the hottest trend within business and franchising right now? It's this semi-absentee category. It's been going on for 3 to 4 years, 3 to 5 years, and we don't see it letting up. Of course, there are plenty of full-time businesses. The vast majority of business and franchise out there are full-time, but this is the hottest category, and most people are not aware of it. So you get to keep your job. Generally your hours are, after hours or morning. You can monitor remotely, like I said, via technology. It's great, and growth investment to hedge against economic changes. Okay, so now we're going to kind of go into some myths. Before I go into this, keep in mind that if you have a question, a chat, anything you want to do, just feel free to put it online and I'll make sure that those questions get answered. We'll also, if you want to have a chance to connect after this webinar in the coming days, happy to connect with you, answer any questions that you have from it. And you'll get my contact information here at the end. So franchising is only fast food and retail. If there's anything I want you to know out of this workshop is that there are thousands and thousands of choices. It is rare that one of our clients purchases food, but one of the things I normally do in a live session, if I'm doing this in front of a group of people, is I'll have them just start naming businesses and franchises to me. And the vast majority of those businesses will be food related because that's what people are familiar with. And so I just want you to know that there's all kinds of different categories and all kinds of different sectors. The hard part is trying to figure out which ones are right for you. And typically our clients will look at multiple businesses, multiple franchises at any given point in time. So you're kind of comparing, contrasting along the way to ultimately find the one that is right for you. Franchise succeed because of the quality of the product. I would say this is changing these days, but don't focus too much on what the product is, because that's not what you as the business owner are purchasing. It's what your customers and clients are purchasing, but you are purchasing the business. So you need to be a believer in all of this, because this is what you're scratching a check for. You're purchasing the marketing, the sales, operations, the accounting, the leadership of this particular franchise. That's what you need to believe in. That's what you are researching. Like I said, your clients or customers need to believe in the actual product. Successful franchise merge in new industries with no new competitors. Well, franchisors are very good. In fact, I'm meeting with a company tomorrow who's coming in an industry that we're all familiar with. There's been plenty of competition through the years. They just have a better methodology of doing it. So that's usually what franchisors are very good at. They're kind of good at market consolidation. They're very good at looking at segments of business who maybe mom and pop have been doing it just fine for years, but they got a better secret sauce. They got a better way of doing it. And so they kind of tend to take over the marketplace. Now, franchises are owned by local business owners in your local community. So they are small business owners as well. But they tend to enter segments where there is competition. They just have a better way of doing it. So don't let competition spook you. The typical investment range, I would say our average client right now is spending right around $200,000 to $250,000 on their business. That doesn't mean they're coming up with $200,000 to $250,000. That's just the overall total cost of the business. All right. I expect that number to start declining, literally starting now over the coming 6 to 24 months, as we all expect to see this economy change, and as we see what's happening to the markets. I would expect it to drop down to maybe 150,000 based on what I've seen in other recessions in business and franchising. But right now it's about 200, 250,000. What I want you to know, though, is that there's no correlation between the cost of the business and how much money it can make. Now, this is very kind of weird to hear, if you will. So most people are so accustomed to the more money they spend on like a house or a car, probably nicer house or car we're going to get. And therefore, that must be true within starting a business. And it is not. It is not true. And this is actually a good thing for you. It means that you don't have to spend a lot of money if one of your goals is to make a lot of money. And you'll just trust me, this holds true, and you'll find it out in your research. So let's just say that you're looking at a business that costs $150,000. Typically about $50,000 will be your funds, and you can get the financing for the remaining $100,000. You'll just want to have funds on hand. I don't know if you heard Chip and I talking about it prior to this workshop starting. It's what we call post-closing liquidity, or it's really what the banks call post-closing liquidity. And that is, they will want to make sure that, hey, you can take care of things at home, whether it's income coming in from a spouse, other assets, other income sources, maybe you're employed, doesn't matter. Hey, you can take care of things at home while you're launching this business. But there's all kinds of different financing out there. What I will do is let me kind of go over with you kind of cheapest, most efficient, quickest way of getting financing to the kind of the most expensive. So, and the slowest way of getting financing. So if you just have cash on hand and you can write a check for the business, obviously that's the cheapest, quickest source of financing. Number two after that would mainly you will hear a home equity line of credit. Typically, a lot of people have a lot of equity within their homes. You're allowed to use that equity to go into business ownership. You can use the money, in fact, for whatever you want. You can typically get a HELOC or a home equity line of credit within about, I'll call it 2 to 3 weeks by working with your local banks or maybe your mortgage provider if you have a mortgage. And still, rates are relatively cheap. Yes, they have gone up. Will they keep going up? Probably a little bit, but still relatively cheap compared to other sources of financing. You could also do kind of a line of credit against your own security. So if you own stocks, mutual funds, you can go to your portfolio advisor and say, hey, I would like to take a line of credit against that. And you can do that without selling the stocks or securities. There's a couple rules associated with it, but generally your portfolio advisor or portfolio manager can get that done for you within about 2 to 3 weeks. It's your money. You can do with it as you please, and you still own the assets. So it's just another line of credit, and you can, like I said, you can use that money as you please. The next option would be this one that you see down here at the bottom. And that is, you can use retirement funds, money that's sitting in a IRA or 401k to fund your business. And we have a lot of clients looking at this route because they're kind of getting routed, if you will, within the stock market right now. And they're like, God, if I can get that money out of there and invest it in myself compared to being at the mercy of these stock markets, I'd like to do that. And it's what's called the ROBS program. I would say probably about a third to half of our clients go this route. It can generally get done in about a month. And you can use the money for as you please to start a business. And you basically become your own 401k. I don't want to go into the nuances of it, but it is an IRS plan. It's called the ERISA Act of 1973 that allows you to use retirement funds to start a business and run a business. And so it's just a very cool way of financing your business that most people aren't aware of, because when most people think of the retirement funds, they think, hey, if I sell it, tap into it prior to those retirement years, I'm going to get early withdrawal fees and penalties. And yes, that is true if you use those funds for personal use, but not if you use it towards a business. The last route would be the route that most people are familiar with, but it takes the longest and it's the most expensive, and that's just a general small business loan. The small business loans right now are taking, I would say, around 2 to 3 months, 2 to 4 months to get done. It is getting a little bit quicker as banks start to unwind from all their PPP fund loans, and all that's getting settled. They're starting to focus more on small business loans, but as you know, the interest rates have been going up. And like I said, it takes a while to get done. And generally the bank will want to hold items as collateral as well, which tends to spook people out a little bit. Again, those financing companies that I provided in the beginning, the Fran funds, the Benetrends, the Guidant Financials of the world, they're the experts within all of this. They'll look at the particular businesses that you're interested in. They'll look at your personal financial condition, and they will share with you what's going to be the best route for you to finance your business, not only time-wise, but also cost-wise. And they'll kind of do all the comparisons for you. Like I said, do you have to spend a lot of money to make a lot of money when going into business? And the fact is, no, there's no correlation. So I kind of already went over this, but it's just, like I said, just trust me, it holds true. Is industry experience required? No. Generally, what you'll see is that the franchisors want you to have the skill sets necessary to start and run the business. So if it's a business that requires sales and marketing, have you done sales and marketing in the past? If it is a business that is employee intensive, have you managed teams of employees before? They don't want you to have specific experience within their specific industry, because that's what they're going to train you on. It's what they're going to show you how to do. And they're going to have you follow their proven process and how to use their system. So how do you find the right business for you? Okay, this is kind of the hard part. So what you have to figure out is, what are you willing to follow? What's affordable to you? What's the risk level that's acceptable to you? What will you enjoy? What will you have fun with? Also, what are your goals? What is it that you're trying to achieve? Look, the whole reason for going into a business is to try to help you achieve your goals. But the question is, what are your financial and lifestyle goals that you're trying to achieve 5 years, 10 years, 20 years from now? So that when you sit back 5, 10, 15 years from now, you can sit back and say, look, I achieved the goals that I set out to achieve. But the question, like I said, is what are those? And these are all things that we go through with their clients so that we understand them as well. What's important to you? Are you trying to gain more challenge or recognition or prestige? Are you trying to build equity for retirement? Do you want more time for family and interests? Look, this one right here, this one's a big thing for me. I have a daughter who is 17 years of age. She'll be in the house for another year. Every moment's precious. I have a son who's 13. He's still very involved in sports. I like to be in his sports. I coach just about every single one of his teams as he's been growing up, and plan on coaching his football team in middle school coming up this fall. I like going skiing. I like taking off on trips. So time for family and interests is very important to me. So if freedom and flexibility is important to you, you need to think about that. Independence, control, financial security. These are all things that we hear from our clients as to what's important for them. What are the skill sets that you're really good at doing, and how can you get to transfer those into your business? So think about, what do you really enjoy doing and what are you really good at doing? So once we will help you build that business model together, the other thing that we're going to help you do is we're going to have you do an assessment. So we have an assessment tool, and this is where you're going to want to get your camera ready for your phone. So have it ready. You'll have access to this tool if you would like. We'll get you a link to it. It takes about 20, 30 minutes to do if you want to do it. It'll produce about 11-page, 12-page report for you. And it'll, like I said, it'll look at your skill sets. It'll look at your personality traits, a little sample financial budget, some things that you like to see in a business, some things that you know you don't want to see in a business. It'll produce this report to you as the types of businesses that are going to be a good fit for you. So we're more than happy to get you a link to that assessment tool if you want to do it. But like I said, you're going to want to have your camera ready to be able to get it. So here's that QR code. If you snap a photo of it, it'll let us know if you want a copy of this presentation. It'll let us know if you want the handouts that we would normally hand out. So for example, there's a guidebook that we provide all of our clients or anybody who would normally see this presentation in person, called the Roadmap to Success. We have all the questions in there for you that you want to ask yourself, that you want to ask of others. It'll show you the entire process of how to research these businesses, everything that you'll need and want to know. So it also, you'll be able to provide your contact information so that we can get that to you. So again, take a picture of that QR code. I'll give you a minute just to do it. Also, if you have, like I said, if you have a question, feel free to put it in the Q&A or the chat box, and I'll be able to get those answered for you. Give you another couple seconds to get that done. All right, moving on. So then once we do that assessment with you, we start to help you build your business model, which is, hey, what would be the recipe for everything that you would like to see in your business? So we would ask you a bunch of questions. And so we're going to see, like, what types of employees, how many employees, what's your budget? Do you want a business that's semi-absentee or full-time or part-time? How do you want to grow your business? Do you want a business that's based out of a home, based out of an office, retail location, light industrial? And you may have the answers to some of these, you may not. Do you want something that's more B2B, more working with the general public? Do you want to sell a service or a product? All kinds of different things. So we'll help you build this business model. Once we have your business model and the assessment done, that's when we can help match you up with the right businesses based on who you are. And like I said, usually our clients will look at 2, 3, 4 different businesses at any given point in time. So you're comparing, contrasting the businesses along the way to ultimately finding the one that's right for you. And as you eliminate some of the businesses, we'll help you replace them. So like I said, ultimately you find the one that's the right fit for you. So this is an example of an actual business model that we type up for our clients. So just kind of see what it looks like. So you'll actually get something that looks like this once we help you build your business model. And then we'll also help you get in contact with all the professionals within your local neighborhoods. So whether it be the attorneys that specialize in business ownership or franchising or incorporation work, whether it be the accountants to help you get this done. We also have suggested reading materials that you might want to read, but just know that, hey, we're kind of your local professional advisors. We'll help you get this done if this is something that you really want to pursue. So there's my contact information, my email address. Like I said, if you did that QR code, we'll get all that information to you. So again, I want to thank all of you for attending. Hope this was very good for you. Hope you got what it was that you're looking for. If you have any other questions, feel free to reach out to me. You can even text me on that cell phone number, and happy to get in contact with you and answer any questions that you may be, because usually there are questions after this presentation, because obviously within the 45 minutes that we had, can't go over everything, but hopefully you got a lot of it answered for you. So again, thanks everybody. Thanks Lee Hecht Harrison for hosting this, and really look forward to chatting with you all. Thanks everybody. Bye-bye.